to another episode of Shop Talk, where we discuss things that have gone on in our day, in our week, and it happened at the shop. So, hey, why not talk about it at the shop? So, today we have again our presiding prelate who has blessed us with her presence today, and we're talking about a sensitive topic today that so many, willingly or shyly, dealing with, and it's the topic of hair loss. And as stylists, we see so many clients, who are dealing with this issue. Even, in public, you see people who are dealing with this issue. We were talking the other day how men handle hair loss differently than women do. But nevertheless, hair loss is hair loss. And so we want to just dive a bit into this topic and discuss, some of the ins and outs and some of our experiences with dealing, with clients with hair loss. And just to get your opinions about some of these things. So without further delay, we'll get into the topic. So listen, we're taking care of a little bit of business too, as you can see.
I hadn't seen you take care of no business.
We tightening some locks on our founder's head today.
I don't think you can multitask.
Listen, I can. So we're taking care of a little business, but we are talking about hair loss, and when we researched it, we discovered that it's just simple. Hair loss is when new hair does not replace hair that has fallen out. That's basically hair loss, and the medical term for hair loss, of course, is alopecia. So, what the thing about hair loss is, again, it's like emotions. People deal with, hair loss in different ways. Like, oh gosh, we all know, the little episode that went on with Will Smith at the awards, at the Academy Awards, the Oscars. And, he defended his wife because of her medical issue dealing with alopecia, which is, again, hair loss is what we're talking about today. So, hair loss. What's the big deal about it? What's so significant? Why are people making such a big deal? What are your thoughts? Tell me about it.
I feel like it is a big deal when you lose your hair because, I feel like it's a pretty traumatic experience. Now, some people, may not be as attached to their hair as others, but for sure as women, that's a part, seemingly to be a part of your womanhood, having hair.
Okay.
So when something you've had all your life and then all of a sudden it starts falling out or thinning, I think that's pretty traumatic. So I think it is a big deal, in my opinion.
Well,
now how you handle it,
right.
How you go about handling the situation, can determine, if you're going to, let it control your life, or if you're going to, deal with it and come to grips with it and, find a solution and move forward. That's totally up to you, but I won't say it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think the first thing people do is, run to a wig? Run to a wig when they are experiencing hair loss, a wig or either a weave. That's the first thing they run to. Why do you think that?
Because they're not used to not having hair, so they say, let me try to fix it by adding hair to your head. So I think that's the most common thing to do, is get a wig. Because most people wouldn't lean towards just shaving their head off. Most people would say, okay, well, let me try to do a hair replacement. And so that's like one of the biggest hair replacements would be a wig or toupee hair piece, whatever you want to call it.
Do you recommend those chemical hair replacements like I can't think of some of them, like Bosley or that one Carrie?
I couldn't say I recommend it because I don't have any experience with it, so I wouldn't be able to give my opinion, but I can't say what I would do if I was in that situation. I mean, I've lost hair before and I didn't go get hair replacement. So I guess I wouldn't go to those type of facilities, but being in the field that I'm in, I would probably, do a wig or a weave or some type of extensions myself, but it's really a personal preference. It just depends on the person and the situation. So
how do you recognize? Okay, so noticing when hair loss begins, it all depends on the person and how your hair is shedding. But does it normally begin with shedding, or does it normally just come out in big patches?
Both. Sometimes patches. You can wake up and literally have a area, a patch of hair like the size of a quarter, or you can just notice over time that it's thinning out. You're having a lot of shedding when you brush or when you comb, or if you go to the salon, your stylist will most likely notice that your hair is changing. So it can happen, different ways. It just depends on the condition of the situation.
And it's not really a set determining factor, as to why people experience hair loss. You never ever know, but it can definitely affect your social life. It can affect the way you feel about yourself, losing your hair and experiencing hair loss. And so when you get a client who is coming in and they just they realize that they've experienced hair loss, or they are experiencing that, what are your first recommendations?
My first recommendation is to try to get to the root of the matter. Try to figure out the source. Figure out, has anything changed in their life? Are they taking any new medications, or do they have any, life-changing experiences that have happened? Job change, or moving out of state, or stress, or anything in their life that could be causing it. Just trying to get to the root of the situation, and so determining that. If none of that is a factor, then recommending them to see a doctor.
Okay. To pretty much get down to the root.
Right. Because going to your doctor, dermatologist or trichologist, they're able to see underneath the surface of the scalp to be able to, get to the source of what the issue is. Because most times it's internal.
Right.
For sure.
And I was going to ask, do you recommend the big chop? But then that's again a personal preference.
It's personal preference. I mean, sometimes, if your hair is just to that point to where you really, there's no need to hold on to the small amount of hair that you have left. So, but it all is based on that person getting to the point to say, okay, I'm ready to now cut my hair. Some people, you gotta take some time, wrap your mind around it, because you're losing your hair. It's the same as people dealing with like chemotherapy, cancer patients. When your hair thins out, or they tell you your hair, you're basically gonna lose all your hair. So some people go ahead and shave their hair because they know they're gonna lose it. Some people gradually just go through the process of letting it thin out and then cut it. So again, it just goes back to your preference. It's up to you. You have to be ready to make that, decision when it's time.
Do you think it's something that should be ignored?
Hair loss?
Yeah.
Oh no, definitely don't ignore it. I think you should, definitely seek a professional. Get with a professional. Some people don't go into salons. Some people don't have a professional stylist. So if you do not, I would recommend going to a doctor, finding your dermatologist or a trichologist in your area that can examine your scalp for you. So I definitely say don't ignore it, because that can be, it's what it is. Your body is telling you something is going on, basically. So you need to, pay attention to the signs, because it can be alarming you of something that you can fix early on versus letting it go too long and you can't fix it. So don't ignore it, in my opinion.
Okay. So that's the hair loss or the alopecia, when it's a medical issue. Okay, when there's actually something internally going on. But what about the alopecia that you cause to yourself by wearing these tight braids and wearing these weaves glued to your scalp that God made on the top of your head? And then you start ripping that stuff off of your hair, feel disrespected. Your hair follicles feel disrespected and they don't want to cooperate with you no more. What about that type of that traction alopecia and the alopecia for what the tension alopecia? Talk to me about that.
I've dealt with those cases to where people just don't care about the hair. They just want to have a cute style or let the extensions look good, or they don't care because they can put extensions on top of it.
Oh wow.
And I mean, hey, it's your head, it's your body.
That's right.
That's your choice. But I would not recommend that at all, because I feel like wearing extensions and weaves and braids should be an option. It shouldn't be mandatory. You shouldn't have to be made to wear that because of something that you did.
Okay.
So you just have to take better care of your hair, basically. Make better choices, take better care of your hair.
Absolutely. Because it all boils down to personal maintenance. We as stylists, we can only do so much. We can do our part, but when you leave the chair, then the rest is up to you.
That's true.
The rest is up to you. I'm sorry, but we can't work miracles.
A lot of people think we're Jesus.
Come on here.
I tell my clients that all the time. I'm not Jesus now. He lives within me, but
come on.
I'm not him.
That's right. Listen, so let me tell you something. We've already talked about the medical aspect, because you can't really do much about the medical aspect of alopecia, but just get it checked out. Definitely don't ignore it. But this alopecia that you bring on yourself, if you get braids and you get weaves, tell me about, okay, now getting a weave with that glue and stuff, what do you recommend? If you're going to get a quick weave, that's with the glue, how do you recommend that, someone get that put in, and what should they not do or avoid, or tell their stylist what not to do?
You just have to go to a stylist who cares about the health of your hair. If you find a stylist who cares about the health of your hair, don't feel, embarrassed or ashamed to ask them, so how do you do your weaves? What is your process? That way you'll know the technique that they use. If they say, I just shampoo the hair and put the glue directly on top of your hair, that's a red flag.
Okay.
If they say,
don't get the glue directly on top of your hair, that's something you need to be. Okay.
If they say, okay, well, what I do is I, protect the hair with this protective sealant. I put a cap on top of that, then I put a sealant on top of that and glue the tracks on that. Okay, yeah, then that's okay, cool, we can deal with that. That's you telling me that you're going to protect my hair, you're going to care for my hair. So basically choosing the right person to do your extensions and things like that. And getting treatments and conditions, and still in between time you still gotta take care of your hair. So
absolutely. So, okay, so tell me about the quick weave. Not the quick weave, but the sew-in. At what point in time can a sew-in cause alopecia?
Some people, braid the hair too tight. So if you do braids too tight, or if you stitch the hair too tight, it can cause too much tension. So not putting too much tension on your hair is the key, basically.
So tension is the culprit.
Not putting too much tension on your hair.
Okay. And one last thing, with the alopecia that we cause, ourselves, ponytails. If you are consistently wearing a ponytail in one spot, whether it's here, in the middle of the head, or if you just, you got it all back in the bun, if you consistently wear that ponytail in that one spot, that can cause alopecia as well. That, and because what we don't realize is our hair have memory. And if your hair remembered, ain't nothing being moved, ain't nothing being, conditioned and taken care of in that one spot, it tends to just, feel the neglect. Like if you have a house that you don't take care of, you know, that nobody lives in, you know, and that house, you know, it doesn't get, you know, any maintenance. I don't know if you ever noticed, but a house that's not lived in, it starts to deteriorate. So that's how basically how your hair feels. You know, if nothing is going on, nothing is being taken care of, I'm just going through this same motion, you know, every day. And then it tends to feel neglected, and then you'll start seeing your hair, you know, begin to thin in that area where you are consistently wearing that ponytail. So, you know, ponytails, you know, consistently wearing ponytails, they can result in, you know, alopecia in that spot as well. So, just to sum it up, because we're getting ready to close this one. What are some things that we need to be mindful of when it comes to alopecia? You know, as far as, you know, first of all, not self-maintenance, but do self-maintenance, making sure you're taking your vitamins and all that, making sure you take care of your body. But as far as your hair, what is the overall care of our hair to make sure that we're doing the best we can, you know, to make sure that our hair is receiving the love it needs to receive? What do you suggest?
I suggest having a consistent regimen for your hair.
Okay.
Find out, you know, what products you need. Find out what your hair likes and what your hair needs. Some people shampoo every day. Some people shampoo it a couple of times a week. Some people go every 2 weeks. But find out what your hair needs and stick to that regimen that your hair flourishes on.
Okay.
And your hair will do just fine, you know.
Cool. All right. So listen, thanks again for sitting with us for this topic of alopecia or hair loss. And if you have any comments about the video, definitely leave them there. If you like the video, leave us a comment. Also, if there are any suggestions as to other things you would like discussed on Shop Talk, definitely leave it in the comments. So if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe so that YouTube can know that I am important as well. And listen, until we meet again, I wish you more light, more love, more peace. Listen, don't let nobody take your peace. Bye.